So in a minute or so, we'll start talking about what you guys are going to work on as far as the assignment is concerned. But let's go over a new feature for three-dimensional stuff for today. So if you are working on your CAD 2 assignment, do me a favor real quick and just open up or watch or open up a new image or a new object rather. And remember how to do that. If you're already working on one file in CAD at the bottom here, you can go over from the left of part 1 and go to My Home right here. And when you click on that, you can open up another part. So you could have multiple parts going at once. So if you're already working on your CAD 2 assignment, you want to just open up a blank page or blank part. Mine's going to be slow because I'm recording right now, sorry. So go again to My Home down here, and once you click on My Home, you'll be able to open up a new part. But I already have one open here. So we're going to look at a 2D sketch first. And all I want to do first is start by talking about some of the three-dimensional features that exist. And to do that, I want to start with a 2D shape. So I'm going to start a 2D sketch like I've done already. I'm going to choose for now just the line feature. Okay, I'm going to simply just draw any sort of polygon, and I don't really care about that polygon and what it actually looks like right now, as long as that polygon is closed. So remember, to guarantee that it's closed, I want that to turn green so they know that I'm on the same vertex at the very end. So when I click here, I've got at least a closed polygon now. Now, with this polygon, I can do a couple of things, and this is what's going to be important for today, for CAD 2 and the upcoming CAD assignments for 3D work. I'm going to now press the following. So if you're looking at your computer right now, pause please, look up. You're going to press Finish Sketch, and you're going to remember several things. First, when you hit Finish Sketch, your 2D image is still there. It's on the screen. I can move the screen to see a little bit better in a minute. But the sketch that you just created is on the left over here. If you do anything with this now and make it somehow a three-dimensional solid, this sketch will still exist. It's not going to go away. So if I were to pull this out into the third dimension, I could then later on change the sketch, and the three-dimensional shape would also change. We're talking about functions. The sketch itself is like the independent variable, and the solid you make is like the dependent variable. The solid we're about to make depends on the sketch. The solid depends on the sketch. So I want you to keep that in mind as you go through using this program, that you could alter things later on, and the 3D solid itself would alter. For example, let's say I chose the first solid feature called Extrude here. Again, I can hover over it, see what it looks like, but I can click on it to start. Because this is the only closed region on my page, it's automatically going to select it as the profile of choice. Normally, I would have to actually click, and maybe I could even show you that if I do that, make it a little bit better. So I'm going to double click. Remember what I'm doing here, by the way. A couple of you last class had trouble with this. To edit this sketch, I need to not hit Start 2D Sketch, because that's going to start a brand new sketch that won't interact with the current one. But if I want to edit this one, I just double click on Sketch 1 over here on the left side. And when I do that, it's going to open this sketch back up. So the reason I'm about to do this, take a look what I'm going to do here. I'm also going to add a little portion of this as like a triangular shape off the end, because I want to show you what happens when we have two closed regions. So at this point here, if I look at this, I've got two closed regions. I've got this quadrilateral, and I've got this interesting looking triangle here on the left. Now when I hit Finish Sketch and I try to extrude, it's going to ask me which of these I want to make a three-dimensional solid, because there's two options now. So when I choose this extrude option here, when the next window pops up, it's going to say profile. Which profile do you want to pull out into the third dimension? Do you want to use both of them or just one of the two of them? And if I'm not sure again what I'm doing, I want to remember that when I'm on the screen, my instructions are always down here. Select the profile. And look what it says. Hold Control or Shift to click or deselect. So you could select multiple at a time. So I could start by just selecting this one or just selecting this one. So if I only click on the triangle, then only the triangle will extrude. And how far? Right now it's set to 1 inch. That's the extrusion distance. That's 1 inch according to my diagram. Now if I click here, I could extrude them both at the same time, and now it looks like one giant solid. But again, I could choose this X here, go back to extrude, and I could possibly just extrude one of them. But again, the sketch doesn't disappear. So give me a second so I can show you again. I click here. This part's going to extrude. And when I do that, I want to show you a couple options. First, this will extrude what's called the shell. not a solid. So if I click on this option here, take a look at what the color changes to. And this is just showing you a shell of that image. So if you were to try to 3D print something like this, it would automatically print it empty. You don't want to do that. So for the most part, when it comes to solids in 3D printing, we're going to be choosing a solid output. Now after that, there's a couple other options here. This option that I'm hovering over right now is not a clickable icon, as you notice, right? Because this option here, this one is really useful, but it's not useful unless we already have a solid. This removes from the solid. So let's imagine I had like a spear and I wanted to cut a hole right down the middle of it. I can put my shape on the edge of the spear, maybe tangent to the spear or whatever object it is. Then I can choose this option and it will remove this shape directly from the solid that already exists. The other 3 or 4 that are really important here. First, how far you want it to go. You can choose distance as your option, and you could sit here and change the length by pulling this arrow out or moving it inward. Or you can directly type the dimension of the extrusion you want right here. Now, in addition to that, there's some other interesting ones. This goes backward instead of forward or in the opposite direction. The one after that is called a symmetric extrusion, which allows for the extrusion to increase in both directions at the same exact rate. And then the last one is called an asymmetric extrusion, which allows for the front and the back extrusion to be at different distances, which is why we have to specify here 2 different distances. Now let's say that in case of a scenario we're going to come into, which we're going to run into, let's say there was another solid right here. That looks where I'm pointing, right? Right here. It's a solid right here in the front. And I want to take this extrusion and I want to pull it all the way forward until it meets up with the current solid that's here. Well, for that one, what we can do is, instead of choosing a distance, we can click here and click on 2. And it'll extend it to the next face that we click on. We currently don't have another solid over here, but if we did, we could choose 2 and then click this solid and it will automatically extrude it right up to the next solid so that they will actually merge together. So within this option, we have a couple different things. I'm going to choose OK for now and just take a look at what the solid has created. And you're going to say, or you're going to notice, what went away? What disappeared just now as a result of me making that solid? What's missing that we had a minute ago? Yeah, the other what? Not solid, the other shape, the other piece that was there. And where is it though, right? Like I don't see it anymore. I see the triangle that I extruded, but there was a parallelogram, or a quadrilateral rather, on the side over here. So if I look on the left, I'm going to say, okay, let me find that sketch. And I can see where it is, right? But look, that sketch doesn't exist. It's not here anymore. But next to extrusion, you're going to see a plus sign now. If I click on that plus sign, there's my sketch that was there earlier. So again, like I mentioned, the solid that you create is a function of your sketch. So what they do in this program, which is really neat and useful, is that they kind of nest. They nest the sketch feature within the extrusion, because the extrusion came from the sketch that we had a little while ago. So if I wanted to change this triangle and alter its shape slightly, I can double click on the sketch now instead of the extrusion. If I want to change the extrusion, I can double click on the extrusion and change how far it's extruded. But if I wanted to physically change or alter that sketch that I made earlier, I can double click on this sketch and it looks like my extrusion goes away actually. Now watch this. If I take this endpoint from this triangle and do this, take a look please, look up for a second, it's gonna happen pretty quickly. So I've changed the triangle was here a minute ago, so this was the original shape, and that was extruded outward. So all I've done is change the triangle slightly, and the extrusion that we had there changes itself. So the extrusion went from looking like this to being cut into a smaller triangle because I physically went into the sketch that's contained within the extrusion and edited it. So when you think about this, you need to think about like X and Y variables in math. Your Y variable depends on the X, right? You choose X and you get a Y out every time. This is the same concept. Your extrusion depends on your sketch. Now, that also goes to say that, your sketch from the first part here, if I go to click revolve, if I choose this revolve option, it says, wait, there's nothing there to revolve. So the sketch that you've used is all used up in a sense. So this quadrilateral that's on the right side here is not going to be usable anymore. I cannot take this quadrilateral and do anything with it because this sketch already has been told to extrude only the triangular part. Now, if you want to extrude that quadrilateral also, you can just double click your extrusion right here, and you can go back into the extrusion and edit that. So it's opening up the extrusion feature that we had, and we only extruded this a little while ago. Well, we could also just say, you know, instead of just that one there, we could also try to extrude the other part of this. So let's take a look. If I choose profile now, I click profile up here. See where I'm hovering? And when I click profile, now it allows me to choose the other sketch that I had a little while ago. And it doesn't just go away. The other sketch just doesn't disappear anymore. And now I've taken the entire sketch and made one extrusion from it. Again, what was the original sketch looking like? That's what it looked like earlier. And I can see this sketch nicely if I just rotate my screen, okay, to the front view to get an idea of where it actually lies. There's a lot more that we're going to keep doing. I wanted to show you extrusion. The second command I want to show you, and I'm going to watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to delete this extrusion, but I want you to notice what happens when I do it. I right-click, I choose the delete option, and now watch the command that pops up here. Additionally, delete consumed sketches and features. If I care about the sketches that I had that created this and I don't want them to go away, I need to uncheck this box. Or else this is going to delete not only the extrusion, but it's also going to delete the sketch that's contained within that extrusion. So if I uncheck this box now and hit OK, it deletes the extrusion, but it leaves the sketch behind. Because now I also want to show you what a revolve feature is like, and I wanted to use the same sketch to do it. So I'm going to choose revolve as my option. When I click on revolve, it's going to pop up with a window that says, again, profile, right? This word profile is really important. A closed region I'm calling a profile. And then axis is going to be important. Why do you think axis is going to be here, but it wasn't here last time? This option was not here for extrusion, but it is here suddenly for revolutions, or for the revolve feature, we need an axis. Why do we need an axis? Use common sense. If we're using a revolve feature, why do we need an axis? It needs to revolve around something, literally. Whereas an extrusion is taking a sketch and making a 3D solid from it by literally drafting it or pulling it out of the screen into the Z dimension. It's kind of like what these do. These are called extruders here. They extrude plastic filament by pushing them through a nozzle. It's an extrusion process. So the revolve feature, as Mord said to us, well, you need an axis. But the question first is like, hey, which one of these is the profile? Am I going to revolve this? Or am I going to revolve this? And they're very different shapes we're going to get. So let's take a look. So if I choose this one first, so I'm going to revolve the triangle. Now I'm on profile still. I'm going to then choose axis. And then I'm going to say, which axis am I going to revolve the triangle around? If I choose this axis right here, what do you think it's going to look like? If I were to choose the axis that's highlighted in red, and I were to take this triangle and revolve the triangle around that axis in 360 degrees, what kind of a shape might it be? Anyone have an idea? I want to take it in. Like a what? Like a cone, yeah, like a double-sided cone. Very good. A double-ended cone, almost like a top. You spin a top during like holiday times, right? You know what tops are? So you click on this red line right here, and what you're going to see what looks like is like a double-sided cone. Very good, Chris. A cone on top and below. Now, that's because I chose this axis that was adjacent to the profile. But what if instead of choosing that axis, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to choose revolve. Give it a second, my computer's freaking out. I'm going to choose revolve. Again, I'm going to choose the same profile. I'm then going to go over, I'm going to click axis. And then watch what I'm going to do now. What if I choose this axis right here? Take a look at the axis I'm hovering over this time. How about this shape? What kind of a funky looking shape am I going to get out of this? Right? This is kind of weird. Last time we revolved this triangle around this axis, and we got like this double-sided cone. But what if we revolve it around some axis at a distance? There'll be some sort of a hole in the middle of the shape. That's the key. So let's click on this and take a look at what happens now. And it looks like there's no hole at first, but if I go like this, let's take a look. All right, we can see what happened. It took that odd-looking triangular shape and it revolved around an axis that's at a distance from where it currently is. So depending upon what shape I'm revolving in the axis of revolution, my resulting shape will change. Last feature I want to mention right here is where I'm pointing to now. God bless you. You can also remove parts of a solid with the revolution feature by choosing the same option as earlier with extrude. It's not an option right now, but if you wanted to, you can literally carve out part of the solid, God bless you, by revolving a shape, and it would literally be like a lathe. Anybody know what a lathe is? You know when you use a lathe to make a baseball bat? A baseball bat is made out of stock wood. It's literally rectangular solid wood. They put it on a thing, it spins, and they take a cutter, and they move the cutter to cut away and shape the bat itself as it revolves. We can do that in this feature by choosing this option here, which we're going to do in a couple of lessons. And that would remove whatever exists already from the current solid, instead of adding or building that solid. Okay, with that said, here's what I want to do. If you're on CAD 2 still, continue working on CAD 2. The due date for CAD 2 is the 5th. So you have today, you have tomorrow, and you still have Thursday to work on it. Now, tomorrow and Thursday, if you still need time, you're going to have to come during free periods or just come by after school, grab a laptop. You can also use the laptops in the Module Center to work on your work here. I would recommend, again, that you save it to a flash drive, or at the minimum, put it in your Google Drive folder, and then you're going to have to download the CAD file from your Google Drive folder to then open it up and continue where you left off. Okay, and then we're going to start CAD 3 because I know 2 or 3 of you are done with the CAD 2 assignment already. So if you're done with CAD 2, I want you to go here and take a look at CAD 3 on Moodle. Okay, and this is what CAD 3 is going to look like right here.